My parents lived in a small town, so they were pretty secluded where they were. The house we lived in at that time was a ranch home. There were 3 rooms in the top floor and 1 room in the basement. In the basement was where my brother slept because he wanted his own privacy. The rest of us had to share rooms upstairs. My sister and I shared 1 room, and my 2 other brothers shared the other room. My little sister was very spoiled at that time. She wanted some water. I knew if I didn't get her water, she would have thrown a tantrum and I would get in trouble for it. We had a lot of box fans running in the house at that time. Our air conditioner was broken, and it was a very hot and humid summer night. So my dad put the fans up to kind of help move the air around the house. I made my way down to the kitchen, and I had grabbed a cup from the cabinet. I turned on the faucet, and as the water was running, I swore I heard something moving from behind me. Behind me was the staircase that went down to the basement or out to the garage. I didn't think much of it because I thought I was hearing the sound from the fan. So I went back to my room. It was 3 o'clock in the morning when I was woken up again by the feeling of someone standing in my room. I looked around in the dark, but I didn't see anyone, and I checked and my little sister was sleeping next to me. I closed my eyes and tried to fall back asleep. Then I heard shuffling in my room. It became quiet, and I tried to listen to see where the shuffling sound was coming from. And I heard it move from the window to the closet, and then it stopped. At this point, this was creeping me out, so I felt like I needed to get up and turn on the light. In the dark, I felt for the light switch, and I flipped it up, but there was no light. All I heard was this buzzing sound. I flipped the switch down and back up again. I did that a few more times and then gave up. Through the window, the moonlight shined into my room and I could see a little bit, but there was no one else in the room with me and my sister. I just climbed back in bed, put the blankets over my head and fell back asleep. The next night, my sister was telling me about a dream she had. She told me she had a dream where this old man came into our room. She asked the old man who he was, but he wouldn't answer her. He just kept moving around our room. Then the man tried to face her and signal for her to be quiet. Then my little sister said it felt like she fell back asleep again, even though she was already dreaming. Then after that, my room started having this funny smell to it. It smelled almost like mold, like a moldy bread. And so my parents thought maybe it was just the carpet, because the carpet was there from the previous owner, and we didn't know how old the carpeting was. And so my sister and I just kinda tried to learn to ignore the smell. The next night around 11 o'clock, my sister got up and told me she needed to use the bathroom. So I got up and took her to the bathroom, and I'm waiting there for her to finish her duty. My little sister was taking a long time to use the bathroom. As she was trying really hard to poop, she kept making these funny faces, so I was laughing at her. I'm making fun of her, and suddenly I hear this thump come from my room. She looked at me, her eyes got really wide, and I looked at her and I told her to be quiet. And we're listening, and we could hear shuffling in our room, because our room was right across from the bathroom. At this point, I was scared. I wasn't sure what was going on. I told my little sister to be quiet, and then to help her clean up real quick. We didn't flush the toilet, because we didn't want to make any more noises. So she and I climbed into the bathtub, and we sat there quietly. The house became silent. I could hear my heart beating in my ears. After a minute or so of complete silence, I heard the closet door in my room open. Because it was a sliding door, one of the wheels was squeaky, and so when you slide it open, you could hear the wheels squeak. But whoever was opening the closet did it so quietly and slowly that if you didn't pay attention, you wouldn't have heard the wheels squeak. And then I heard a thump, and someone grunted. I'm holding onto my sister, and at this point she starts crying, so I put my hand over her mouth, and I tell her to be very quiet because the boogeyman was here. And she became really quiet because she was afraid of the boogeyman. As we sat there quietly, all I could hear was the sound of the box fans in my room, and there was no more noises. My sister and I quietly got out of the bathroom, and we went to my parents' room and woke them up. We told them what we heard, and they got up and looked around the house, searched our room, looked in my closet, and there was nothing that seemed out of the ordinary. My mom just told us to ignore it and go back to bed. And I wish I didn't ignore it, because maybe I would have seen it sooner. As the night went on, I was woken up again by another sound. There was a sound of something scratching the carpet. The scratching noise came from underneath my bed. My little sister was sound asleep, so I gently took her hippopotamus flashlight from her hands, and I turned them on. I leaned over the side of my bed, and I lifted up this piece of cloth that dangled at the bottom of the bed. And the first thing I saw was a head of hair. It was a human head. For a moment there I thought it was my brother playing a prank on me, but I noticed that the body was huge, like an adult-sized body. It was wrapped in a blanket, and it just lay there motionless. I fell backwards and basically walked under the room, screaming, and I forgot all about my little sister who was on the bed. My father comes running into my room, because at that time he was already up and getting ready to go to work. And my dad looked and there was a man sleeping underneath my bed. I remember my dad physically pulling this man out from underneath my bed and forcing him outside. Then my dad got on the phone and called the police. The police came and found the man. He was sitting at the front yard. He looked like he was in a daze. He didn't look like he knew what was going on. And when the police tried talking to him, he didn't make sense, so the police took him away. We weren't sure how long he had been in our house, but I'm pretty sure that all the noises I heard, the breathing, the shuffling noises, it was him underneath my bed. I remember that my dad did not go to work that day. He stayed home with me and my mom and all the kids. This did a lot of mental damage to me, where I didn't even want to sleep in my own room anymore or be alone in the house. For a long time, all of the kids slept in my parents' room. Then my dad installed security cameras, regardless of the reason why he was in our home in the first place, and whether or not he meant any harm. Just having someone hide underneath your bed is every child's nightmare.
Subscribe now.